Welcome back to the Experience Pros Radio Show. Very nice to have you along with us today. You know, they say that necessity is the mother of invention. And, this story has a lot of that going on for it.
Absolutely. Have you ever needed to find a caregiver to care for a loved one? Where do you start? A scary look through the internet will leave you with reviews of a lot of things not to do. And as Eric said, something, the mother of invention is necessity. Our next guest is Ron Gold. He survived a head-on crash on his bicycle that left him paralyzed, and he still needs daily care for himself. This happened in 2011, and it was this tragedy that led him to design a far more effective way for families to find, employ, and manage experienced and highly recommended caregivers. He started Lean On We in the tri-state area. Ron, welcome to the Experience Pros Radio Show.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Angel and Eric.
Ron, very nice to have you.
I have to tell you, before my accident, I went out to Colorado a lot. I love Colorado. I was a big skier and I was a big hiker.
Well,
I miss it and hope to try to do some adaptive skiing sometime in the future.
You will find a welcome here, my friend. Absolutely. Let's talk about this search for caregivers. I know that from my family story, my mother had a stroke and spent 7.5 years in a hospital bed, some of that at home. And we were looking for caregivers. And our stories are not unique. I mean, there's so many who really do look for those caregivers. And unfortunately, when you do a Google search on caregivers, you find the nasty underbelly. What are some of the most important questions to ask somebody when looking for some help?
Well, the first thing is to figure out what's most appropriate for you. So for me, when I was discharged from the hospital after 5 months, I had care provided by insurance for about 6 weeks or so. And it was provided by insurance, so I went through an agency. After that 6 weeks, and believe me, everybody who thinks they have coverage, they really end up having much less coverage than they think they do.
Sure.
Medicare covers very little, and in my case, private insurance covered for a period of time. So then you're stuck with the decision, what do I do? What's most appropriate for me? So I could have continued with the agency, but the problem is for me, at that point, it was $25 an hour, and I was paying out of pocket, and they have some strict rules, some regulations. For example, it's usually 4-hour minimum. And I was at the point where I really only needed 2 hours. I needed 2 hours in the morning, and then I was ready for my day.
Sure.
And then what was I doing for the next 2 hours? So that really didn't work. And I didn't like the idea of not being able to choose who comes into my home, which is another problem that people have. So the next step was thinking about going privately. And how do people do that? About 50%, those are the numbers, of people who hire care privately go through word of mouth when they hire directly. And the problem is that word of mouth system is this sort of underground market. It's well, my neighbor used so-and-so and they recommended someone, and then you find that person.
Which can be very exhausting, right?
Well, first of all, it can be exhausting because there's no good system for finding someone. It's sort of going onto Craigslist, or it's getting a word from somebody, and it's usually 2 degrees of separation before you find that person. And then you're stuck with, well, is that person really appropriate for me just because somebody else recommended them for them? And do I have backup? And can I pay that person legally? And is this person a criminal? Do they, are they vetted? So those were the sorts of issues that I dealt with. And when I started asking around, I realized a lot of people were asking those same sorts of questions. It was just a system that people used. And I figured, well, here we are in the 21st century. We should be able to come up with something better. So what Lean On We is, this is a network of carefully vetted private caregivers. We help families find the right fit quickly, easily, and safely. And our idea is that we've transformed private duty care by creating this network. and our experience was based on my own, and that's how I went about doing it.
Well,
Is there an app for Lean On We, Ron?
There isn't an app yet, but we hope to have one shortly. We have obviously the website leanonwe.com, and really the way it works is we have a team of care advisors, and they meet each one of these caregivers, and they make sure that they're at least 21, experienced, referenced, fingerprinted. And then we help them create a bio, and we shoot a video, and we upload that onto our website. So all of a sudden, you've taken that mystery out of hiring a caregiver privately, because we've done all this legwork for you.
I love it. I really do. Leanonwe.com is the website, leanonwe.com. Ron, final thought for our listeners?
Well, I think the final thought is that people want to take control of their care. People want to take control of their lives. And particularly when you're dealing with elderly, so many have lost their independence. So they don't really, they don't know where to turn.
Sure.
And then if you assign them a caregiver, that's one more thing that's shoved over to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the right thing to do. Obviously, agencies have an important role in our society. But for those people who want to hire care privately, those families, because it's usually the adult children who are pushing the parents to go ahead and do this. If the parent can be engaged in the process, all of a sudden you've changed the dynamics dramatically, because now they're invested in that person that's coming in their home. So when you use Lean On We, you get the advantages of hiring privately, and those are, it's cheaper, usually 20 to 30% cheaper.
Wow.
You have choice on who's coming into your home, and you have control of the care without a middleman. But at the same time, you have that peace of mind that people get through an agency, that these people are carefully vetted, and you have backup when you need it.
Yep.
So in effect, it's sort of marrying word of mouth and the agencies.
Well said. Ron Gold, thank you for your work. Thank you for joining us here on the Experience Pros radio show today.
Thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to getting back out to Colorado.
You come on back out.